Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to close your C7 Corvette convertible top if it refuses to move from error codes or no power. Typically this will happen if a sensor goes bad. In my case, I had the right side unlatched sensor bad, and I'll show you where the sensors are. So if you're having the same problem I had, no matter what you do, the top won't move. And you're kind of stuck with it open, and it seems like most people take it to the dealer, but luckily I was able to figure out what to do. So your car will tell you manual operation only on the dash, and unfortunately that doesn't work. If it's completely open, there's a latch in the front, there's a latch underneath the back. So let me show you exactly where those are and how to get around this. So you're going to do this on both sides, but you're going to pop off this top piece. It's actually really easy. There's 3 clips. Just kind of pull up carefully, and it's going to actually be attached with a cable, a little steel cable that makes the flap go up and down. You can just kind of set this to the side a little bit. Inside here, there's going to be 2 bolts. 1, 2. This holds the latch. Now mine's actually loose because I haven't tightened it, but your latch is going to look like that. That's the front latch. And once you loosen these 2, you don't need to take them out, just loosen them. Pull this forward. Doesn't even move very much. And now that the front latch is open and you can move the top. You'll do the same thing on both sides. And then you're going to have to open the trunk with your trusty key underneath here. In the hidden keyhole. Now, of course, you're going to want to make sure that your top is completely all the way open before you open that trunk. So check your body lines. If it's up at all, your trunk's going to hit it and it's going to mess your paint up. So this has to be 100% down and latched. Now, once you've got your trunk open, you're going to take everything out of the trunk. The carpet, the floor, these sides are kind of tricky to get. This will kind of be in the way. You'll have to take the barrier out to get the sides out. Once you have access to that, it's just in front of this cylinder, and there's one on each side, and they both look exactly the same. Let's see if we can capture here. So it's that right there that my light is shining on. There's kind of like a Y-shaped bracket, and that piece of steel that kind of sticks out, a little peg, that needs to, you move the bracket up to go over that. Now one side kind of just jiggled loose after a time for me, and was able to pry this side, the passenger side, open with a screwdriver. So I just pried up on that flat piece of steel. As soon as it popped over that peg on both sides, then I could open the top without power. Those are the 4 latches. So 2 of those in the back, and the 2 under these flaps in the front. One on each side. So once you've done that, completely shut your trunk. Make sure your trunk's completely shut all the way around. Then you'll be able to lift up manually on this and it will come up. Now mine's already fixed, so there's power. It does take a few minutes for the computer to release, or the car to release the pressure from the hydraulic cylinder. So if it just happened, you might have to wait 5 minutes or so. Typically the car will beep a bunch, and then it'll say, you know, power down, folding top, or something like that. So again, 2 bolts in here, loosen those, pull this forward. And then in the trunk, let's go real slow so you can see exactly where it is. On this right side, again, it's this peg here. So this bracket, you're going to push up on that probably with a screwdriver, pry it. It's got to go above that peg. As soon as this bracket is above that peg on both sides of the car, inside the trunk, then you've got your two front latches. Alright, so once you've confirmed your trunk is 100% closed, again, if it's not closed all the way, you'll damage the paint on one of the two pieces or both of them. But once your trunk's shut, then you can lift. It's easier with two people, one on each side, right here, or carefully lift towards the middle by yourself. You're going to lift it up and kind of back. Alright, so once your top is open, you're going to be able to work on the, once your cover's open, you're going to be able to work on the top. So here's a better idea of those latches that you've got to release. Mine are still loose. I'm going to tighten them up here when I'm done. And here's kind of what it looks like underneath. Alright, and that's the beeping. That means it's going to release the top power. So you'll hear it releasing the cylinder so that you can manually move the convertible top. So now you can lift it by hand and close it. You can lift this up and close the cover as well. So let me show you where the sensors are. Alright, so there's I believe 5 sensors in the top. So let's open about right here so you can see. So right in here is your front right header latched sensor. So when the top is all the way closed, this latch goes inside of that and turns up. That sets this trigger or this sensor to on. Left is on the other side, of course. There's also an unlatched sensor. This one was the one that I had an issue with. It was really hard to find. So inside this top, right on top of the cylinder, there's a yellow and brown wire going to this plastic sensor. That sensor actually sits inside the cylinder. So inside that cylinder on the top side of it, if the top is closed, roof is up, is that sensor. So I had to replace that sensor. To get that sensor out, you basically have to cut the zip ties. There's several zip ties. You cut those zip ties off, and then your lines for the motor itself, like this, needs to come to the outside of the car. So you turn it to the outside of the car about 90 degrees, then you can pull this sensor out. So this line is on top of this sensor. So again, you turn this direction towards the outside of the car, and then you can pull this sensor out. Now, I determined through some testing that the wires on my sensor were bad, but that the sensor itself was fine. So I actually got some good quality wire, some 22-2 wire with some outside sheathing. It matches the gauge of what's in the car. And I gave myself enough room to work, but I cut the sensor off of the 2-wire harness that goes through here. And then on the other end, did the same thing. I'll show you where that goes. So the wiring kind of follows the convertible top mechanism down the car. I had to take this off, and of course the trim pieces, to get to that. So I very carefully replaced that wire, re-ran it right where it was, re-taped it with some cloth electrical tape, made sure it was exactly where it was. You need about 6 feet of wire, maybe go 7 feet, give yourself a little bit of extra. So I've got a little bit coiled up down here, but so kind of zoom out a little bit so you can see what we're looking at. On the right side of the trunk, right in here, this is that connector. So this is the other end of your sensor wire. I reused the factory plug. Again, I just cut these wires a few inches back put my new wire in, and all's good. Now, of course, if you're replacing the sensor, you could do the same thing. You just would use the new wire and plug it in. On this side, there's a 4-pin connector. So the unlatched sensor on the driver's side, and then I believe that's the other sensor should be the, there's a bow sensor, bow pressure sensor for this piece here that tells where this piece is. So a sensor for that as well. So from the outside, you've got your latched sensor right in the windshield. Your unlatched sensor is about right here, and the bow sensor is somewhere over here. I haven't found that. So that's pretty much it. Once you're done, obviously undo everything you did. Don't forget to tighten these latch bolts back up, because that holds your top while you're driving. Now, what I helped diagnose this with was, got one of these on Amazon, and used a spare laptop. Got to turn off antivirus to use the software that it comes with. But with that, I was able to read the sensors with the GDS2 software and see that I had a bad signal on this passenger side unlatched sensor. So I knew what I was looking for. It was just a matter of getting to it, finding it, and fixing the issue. So, like I said, there's several sensors throughout the system. There's a trunk partition sensor. This is the wiring for that. On the inside trunk, it's what you latch your barrier to. And there is, of course, airbag wiring back here that you want to be careful with. But that's pretty much it. So, yes, it is possible to remove or close your convertible top without power. You just got to know where to find the latches. So it took me a few days to get it all figured out, just being very careful so I didn't break anything. But that's what I got for you guys.